Hi, my name is James Shepard, and today I want to talk to you about how to make $1,000 a week selling merchant services. How to make $1,000 a week selling merchant services. So, I had dinner a week and a half ago with an agent who is new to the industry. I think he's been in the industry about 6 months, maybe a year. I don't think it's been quite that long. And so he and I were really talking in depth about kind of how was it when he first got into the business? How did he get his start? How did he survive? And everything like that. And there was some interesting things about that conversation that really stuck out to me. And I wanted to talk to you about how to guarantee that you're going to make $1,000 a week in this business. Now, I realize many of you are making many times more than $1,000 a week. Congratulations to you. But there really are a lot of agents who are either new to the industry or been in it for a little while, and they're still not at a point where they're getting a consistent $1,000 a week income, which in my mind is kind of a minimum. You got to at least make $1,000 a week if you're have a growing family in today's economy and everything, and you need to make some money. So let's talk about how to do that. So a few laws that I have found over the years, or kind of rules about our industry that seem to be pretty accurate. The first one I want to share with you today is this. The number of businesses that you walk into on a daily basis where you have not yet spoken to the decision maker is going to be roughly equivalent to the number of sales you make in a month. Let me say that again. The average number of businesses you walk into every day where you have not yet spoken to a decision maker is going to be roughly equivalent to the number of sales you make in a month. I'll talk about telemarketing in a second. So what that means is the average sales rep I talk to walks into about 4 to 8 businesses a day where they're prospecting, and even that maybe is a little generous because they usually take 2 days where they don't do any prospecting, but whatever. So they're walking into, 4 to 8 businesses a day, and they feel like they're doing a pretty good job. They call me because they're like, James, I'm really expecting to make, 12 to 15 sales a month. Well, if you want to make 12 to 15 sales a month, you need to walk into 12 to 15 businesses a day where you have not yet spoken to the decision maker. Let me say that again, where you have not yet spoken to the decision maker. It does not include your follow-ups. It doesn't include where you go back to do the paperwork or the installation or the customer service. I'm talking about prospecting, people you haven't talked to yet who are the decision maker. So, the way to make $1,000 a week in this business is actually pretty simple, okay? If you can get out in the field for about 2 hours a day, where for those 2 hours you're just prospecting, you're walking into businesses where you've never talked to the decision maker yet, you're going to walk into about 20 businesses in 2 hours. Could be as low as 12 to 15. It could be as high as 25 or 30. It just depends on where you're at. If it's a mini mall, you're going to walk into 20 businesses really quick. If it's a rural area, it may take you longer because you got to drive around. But if you take 2 hours to do your prospecting, you're going to average out to probably around 20 businesses every day that you're walking into for prospecting purposes with no leads. If you do that, you're going to make about 20 sales a month. Okay? Now, it's interesting to me. I'll tell you another interesting story about a rep. So there's another rep I had lunch with who is a top sales rep. Probably, he's got to be near the top in the whole industry as far as cash discounting right now. Very consistently makes 20 to 25 sales every single month. No leads whatsoever. And I talked to him about his schedule. And I said, man, you must be working like a crazy man. What are your hours? Well, he said, and I may be getting this a little off, but I'll give you the gist of it, is, he says, well, I drop my kids off at school around 8:30. Then I go to the gym for an hour, till 9:30, 9:45, get a shower, get dressed. I'm usually out in the field around 10 a.m. And then around 2:30, I have to stop because I have to go and pick up my kids from school. And I'm like, you're joking with me. He's like, no, that's pretty much it. I was like, okay. So when do you do your other stuff? He says, well, I prospect from, 10 to 2:30 every day. And then, in the evening, I catch up on paperwork or whatever, submitting applications, that kind of stuff. And so I was like, wow, so you're making 20, 25 sales a month and you're basically working 4.5 hours, 5 hours a day. He's like, yeah, but it's very focused work. He's just prospecting. He's walking into one business, then another business, then another business, then another business, and he's just picking a street and walking in. And the interesting thing about that is that's not an unusual result. I've talked to many agents that are, kind of every time I'm surprised at the level of work and time that it takes. I'm also equally shocked when I go out in the field with a rep. And I'm very quickly, it's evident why they're not doing very well. A lot of times a processor will hire me and, hey, we've got this rep we think is really good. Could you go spend a day in the field with this rep? Sure. So I go out in the field with the rep, and I remember one rep that I went out in the field with, and we went to a mini mall. And there was a different excuse for every business that was in the mini mall of why we shouldn't walk into that one, Well, now I think, it doesn't look like the owner's there, How can you tell? Well, this one here, I think I'd already talked to them, or this one here, I think that's a national chain. I don't think we can sell them, and I don't know if our processor works with that business type. I'm like, oh my word, like seriously. Start at one end of the mini mall and walk into every single business in the mini mall. That's it, okay? The worst that's going to happen is you're going to spend a minute in there and they're going to say no, and then you leave. It's not that big of a deal. You're going to waste more time trying to decide what to do than you are just walking in. So walking into these businesses on a daily basis is going to guarantee your income. So here's how the numbers break down, okay? As I was talking to that rep I'll go back to the beginning. I was talking to the rep that was new and how he got started. He didn't really know anything about payment processing, but what he figured out is that if you walked into enough businesses, he would find a percentage of those businesses who were not happy with their current processor. That's just what it is. It's a numbers game. So he didn't really know that much about how to pitch it. He didn't understand it very well. He used our quote tool, instantquotetool.com, to make all of his proposals. And all he did is he just walked into a lot of businesses and he said pretty much he was just looking for people that were already upset with their current company, and then he switched them over to his company, and that was it. Now, you might think, well, my goodness, there's not very many people like that, and you'd be right. There's probably about 3 to 7%, depending on your market, 3 to 7% of the people who are upset with their current company. So if you go to 20 businesses a day, that's 100 a week. You're going to find those 3 to 7%. You're going to make, you're going to get in contact with a few of those. You're going to make 1 or 2 sales every single week, maybe 3. If you're doing cash discounting, leasing a terminal, making some upfront bonus money, it's not that difficult to get to $1,000 a week. So here's my challenge to you today. Really take a hard look at your prospecting, okay? Are you really working as hard as you could? Do you honestly believe that if you spent 2 hours a day just prospecting, which again means walking into a business where you've never yet spoken to the decision maker, do you really think if you did that every day, 5 days a week, 20 days a month, do you really think you're not going to make $1,000 a week? And if you know that you would make $1,000 a week, then why aren't you doing that? Go do it. Get it done. Last tip I'll give you, and I'm done real quick. Telemarketing, what do those numbers look like? Instead of using the number of businesses you walk into, use your number of contacts. So if you want to make 20 sales a month and you want to do telemarketing to schedule appointments for yourself, you need to talk to 20 business owners a day. Okay? So number of contacts, 20 business owners a day that you're talking to that you haven't talked to before when you're doing telemarketing to schedule leads for yourself, that's going to give you 20 sales a month. If you're walking into businesses, walk into 20 a day, and that's going to give you 20 sales a month. That's your numbers. My name is James Shepard. Have a great day.